Hello. In this video, we're going to look at the content of Unit 1, Activity 1. So at the top of the content page, you'll see a little welcome to the course and a little explanation about what we're going to try to do this semester. You should have already gone through the course overview, so if you still have any questions though about what we're trying to accomplish this semester or what the goals of our course are, please let me know. If you move down the content page though, you'll see the first part of our activity deals with parts of speech. So if we're going to try to improve your English this semester, the simplest way to start is to review the basic parts of speech. So you've got 7 parts of speech in the English language, and what we're going to do in Unit 1 is in each activity we're going to cover 2 or 3 of the different parts of speech. So in Activity 1, we're going to focus on nouns and pronouns. And so if we move down, you'll see Part 2 of the activity, sure enough, focuses on nouns and pronouns. And so we start with types of nouns. And there are 3 types of nouns we're going to focus on: concrete, collective, and abstract. And so the lesson will give you an explanation or a definition of each of the 3, and then some examples. So in the case of concrete, it'll tell you that concrete are words that name things that you can see, smell, hear, taste, and touch. So examples would be elephant, river, flower, perfume, radio. These are all things that we can physically touch, or we can see them, or smell them, or hear them. So they're tangible objects. Collective nouns are going to be nouns that are lumped together in a group. So a band of musicians, for example, would be a collective noun, or a group of students. The word group in that case would be a collective noun. Probably a better way of saying that would be a class of students, right? Would be a good collective noun. And then abstract nouns are maybe the trickiest nouns because we can't feel or touch them. We can't see them. They're more intangible. And so words like love, hate, kindness, fear, anger, these are all examples of abstract nouns. They're still nouns, but we can't see and touch them. If you'd like more explanation on these types of nouns, take a look at this video by Khan Academy. They go into a little bit more detail. And then when you're ready, we can try some practice. So we have a practice exercise for identifying concrete and abstract nouns. So they're asking you to put a C next to each word that is a concrete noun and an A next to each abstract noun. So a word like locker, you can physically touch a locker, and so that would be a concrete noun. Whereas a word like promise, you can't physically touch or see a promise, so that would be an abstract noun. You can check out the answers to this activity once you're finished as well. You'll notice at the bottom of any practice activity that we have this semester, you'll see a set of a link to answers that you can click on. And then we have identifying collective nouns, so they're going to ask you to go through these 10 sentences and underline any collective nouns you see. So for example, I sing tenor in a quartet. So quartet would be underlined because quartet means a group of 4, right? And so that's more than one, so that's a collective noun. Again, you can check your answers out when you're done. Once you're comfortable with nouns, we move on to pronouns, which are replacements for nouns. And so they act as substitutes for persons, places, or things. And when you're looking at pronouns, we need to be comfortable with the first, second, and third person pronouns, because we can break pronouns up into the different person that we're using when we're writing or speaking. And so I, me, my would be examples of first person, whereas you would be an example of second person, and he, she, it would be an example of third person. We also have to be comfortable with singular and plural, because depending on whether we're talking about one or more people, when we're using pronouns, we have to be able to use singular or plural. If you'd like some more detail on pronouns, again, we've got a little mini lesson that's done by Khan Academy that you can take a look at here as well. And when you're comfortable with pronouns, try the practice exercise. They're going to ask you to add pronouns on the underline in each of the following sentences. So I thought this was my car, but Sarah told me that it was her car. So you're just adding in the appropriate pronouns to the different sentences, and then you can check out the answers to make sure you are correct. If you have any questions about nouns or pronouns, please let me know. In our next activity, we'll look at another part of speech, and we'll keep going until we cover all 7 parts of speech throughout Unit 1. Now we get into maybe the main purpose of Activity 1, and that's to cover reading. And we're going to look at the types of texts that we're going to read this semester. And so you're going to have to be familiar with 3 types of texts: narrative, informational, and graphic texts. And you'll have to be able to understand the difference. We'll look at all 3 this semester. So a narrative text tells a story. It has to have characters and setting and plot and themes. Whereas an informational text tries to teach something or explain something. And so there'll be a specific topic and supporting details. And then a graphic text combines words and images to present information. And so all 3 of these will be important this semester. And so there's a little practice here where they're going to list for you here different types of texts. And then you're going to be asked to fill in this little chart. So under narrative, which ones of these types of texts can we classify as narrative? And there's going to be 5 narrative, 5 informational, and 5 graphic. So you should be able to take each of these and fit them into this chart. And then you can check your answers by clicking right here. Okay. And then the last part, and I think maybe the most important part of Unit 1, Activity 1, is Part 4, Reading Strategies. And we're going to be doing a lot of reading this semester, and so you're going to have to practice some different techniques that we're going to use, starting with scanning and skimming. So make sure you read this definition and explanation of scanning. Scanning is when we go through information quickly looking for specific information. And they're going to use an example of a restaurant menu to show you how we scan on a regular everyday basis. And then what you're going to be asked to do is you're going to be asked to scan a text. And in this case, it's just a short little text here, just a few sentences here. And they're going to ask you to answer these questions based on this text. So you should be able to scan through this text, read through this text fairly quickly, and be able to answer these 4 straightforward questions, asking you to find specific information in this text. And so what you can do is after you've read this text and answered these 4 questions, is just check your answers right here to see how good of a job you did scanning. And then we have skimming. And skimming is a similar idea to scanning in that we're reading quickly, but we're not reading to find specific information. What we're doing is we're trying to get a general understanding of the material that we're reading. And so an example of that would be if you sit down at a doctor's office and you open up a magazine and you quickly kind of skim through it to see if there's something interesting. You're not looking for something specific. You're looking for something that's going to grab your attention. And what you've got here is an interactive activity that you can click on. It's for practice, and they're going to ask you to do scanning and skimming in that activity and give you some extra practice doing both. Okay? If you do have any trouble with scanning or skimming, or if you have any trouble with this interactive activity, please let me know. We're just practicing here in the content. We're just trying to learn the material here. You're not being graded on anything you're doing here, but if you're having any trouble, please let me know. And lastly, we have inferences. And sometimes what we have to do when we read is we have to make inferences. Sometimes the author will not tell us directly will not give us information directly in the text. And so we have to, what they call, read between the lines in order to understand what is being said. And so they give you an example here. It says, John is watching TV in the living room while his mother is cooking breakfast in the kitchen. John hears a smoke alarm and can smell burnt bacon. So if we read that, we can assume, we can infer that John's mother has burnt breakfast. It doesn't tell us specifically that John's mother has burnt the breakfast, but we can kind of guess that. We can what we call infer that based on what we've read. So a lot of times when you're reading, again, the author will not tell you exactly what's going on. You have to make inferences, and you have to pay attention and read between the lines. And so there's going to be some examples here. They're going to give you 3 scenarios here, and they're going to ask you to infer what is going on, and then they'll give you a little explanation about what you can probably guess is happening in each of these 30 scenes. Again, this is just practice, but what you're going to have to do in the assignment in this activity, or at least in one of the assignments, is you're going to have to show me that you can make inferences when you read a news article. So make sure you're comfortable with inferences before you move on to the assignment. And what you'll see at the bottom of every activity this semester actually is it'll tell you, once you get to the bottom of the content, it'll say, you have now completed the content. Please click on the assignment button at the top or bottom of the web page to proceed to the activities assignments. And so you can click here on the assignment button, or you can click here at the top on the assignment button. It'll take you to the same place, and then you can move on and complete the activity by doing the assignment. I hope this explains the content. If you have any questions, please email me. Please let me know.